Everything is fueled from me wanting to be a better person on earth.
It's time to do your part.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Do Your Part. Brian Gallo is the name of the host. That is me. And a new guest, somebody who I don't know. Not all of the guests I know, but this is a new face to me. Darla, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, sir. I really appreciate you having me.
Of course.
It's an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And you're very welcoming gentleman, too.
Oh, well, you know, I got to have you here comfortable so that I can really kind of get a true perspective. Tell me this. Let's open with this. Why are you here? Why are you here with me chatting?
Well, I want to do my part, and the topic is important to me. There's so much division for so many reasons, but yet when the bare bottom, the brutal truth, as I say, which is just the bottom line, there's no getting around it. We're all connected. Whether, people want to separate themselves and, just keep them separate for religious reasons. The color of my skin or your skin, the amount of money you have in your bank account, religion, politics,
Yeah.
And it's nasty. It's nasty business.
I like that you said that we all are connected, because as deep-rooted as people's prejudice might be, or as committed to their idea, as committed to their idea as they might be, they still do know we all bleed red. We all learn our ABCs, and 1, 2, 3 is the same way. We're all the same. Tell us a bit about you. I want to hear about your upbringing, where you're from, so you can paint a picture to the listeners.
Okay.
A bit about you.
I'm 51 years old. I love Elvis, number one. I was born in a suburb of Los Angeles, California, the city of angels, as they say.
Yeah.
San Fernando Valley, Encino. Let's see, what else? I was raised a little bit in Ventura County when my mother and father did finally get married. I was I think it was 6 years old. So I spent some time there, and those were the days when, I remember playing well down the block with no issues. The neighbors, it was like a community, it wasn't so...
You mean like diverse neighbors, not just white kids?
Oh, no. I went to Juanita's
house? Let's keep, I don't want to waste time with you stuck on her last name. We don't want to call you out, Juanita.
Didn't get to Juanita's house. No, it was first grade, second grade. So, and there it was predominantly Hispanic and black, as they say.
Right.
So, yeah.
So at a young age, you knew this at a young age, that racism isn't right, and this isn't something, prejudice or racism wasn't something that was taught to you in your home. Oh,
absolutely not. My mother would have none of it. Not so sure about my father in that regard. I've only had a little bit of time with him growing up and experience, but I do remember him using the N-word a couple times in a way that didn't feel good to me as a child. But my mother, absolutely not. She didn't play that. And actually, I had a lot of friends that were of color, as they say. But I believe I'm of color, too. I'm just a lighter color.
Right.
We all have color. So what? And my skin being lighter, your skin being darker, there's nothing there to separate for the point of value. I think separation.
Well said. Yeah.
Separation devalues a person.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the author, the poet, but it was talking about how white people, when you're green, when you're sick, you might be green. Too much sun, you're brown. When you blush, you're red. Right. So talk about being colored. It's we're all change colors. We're not reduced to a color. Period.
We're much more than that. Yes.
So this is kind of where I want to steer the conversation, is to hear a little bit more about. I guess we don't need to hear more because you didn't really struggle with prejudice or racism growing up. Tell me about your neighbors, or maybe your first black friend, or something like that. When you first witnessed racism.
Gosh, you know what? My mother was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So when I was younger in the congregation, there is none of that. I'm trying to think the first time I witnessed racism. Well, can I tell you this?
Please.
I got to experience that feeling.
Oh, let's hear that story.
Just because of the color of my skin. I was waiting, a group of us were waiting for some things to be handed out to us. This was a long, long time ago. And there was some black folks there, some white folks there, some Hispanics, you know. And I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Darla, he's making all the white people wait till the end." And I thought, oh, just hearing it, you know, I know that there are people who are racists and bigots and they discriminate, you know, but that's not in my heart. So when it was said to me, it was a little bit shocking. Not because, you know, I'm considered Caucasian or anything like that. It's just that if you can't really relate to something in your heart, then it's hard to grasp for me. So I went over to the window. There was a window, and then there was a door with glass in it. And I looked down, and sure enough, it was just some fairly good-sized bags with some name tags on there. And sure enough, I saw my name, and I knocked on the window, and I said, "Sir, my bag is right there. It's done," you know, because I'm the type that if somebody says something to me, I don't just usually hang back. I'll address the situation or go see what's going on for myself. And he said, "Yeah, I'll get to you, you know. I'll get to you when I get to you. You're just going to wait." And
when he could have just handed you the bag.
well, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
What race was he?
He was a black gentleman.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he made all the Caucasian, quote unquote, people.
And it was apparent.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the bags set kind of. Well, the door was right here, but he had the bags set close to the door.
So that's is that the only example you have? I mean, because I've never thought to ask any of my white guests or friends if they've ever experienced racism, and this is a very specific and very clear example. It's really interesting. How did it make you feel? Mad, obviously.
You know what? I wasn't really mad about it. I think I was more inside, like, shocked, you know, that people really, I mean, I know that it happens, but it's kind of, it's different. You can know something. It's just like if you love somebody, you know, they know that you love them, but hearing it is a whole different story. You can know something, but seeing it or hearing it puts it in a whole different light. And I think I just thought that it was really silly, and I didn't understand it. It didn't make any sense to me on any level of the cells in my body, you know.
Yeah.
I knew it was wrong, and I could feel, you know, the injustice of it. But at the same time, I wasn't willing, or part of me just, I didn't want to get outraged about it, because that doesn't serve a purpose. You know, if you get angry about things like that, I mean, you can get angry, but to respond really and to keep a hold of that emotion is doesn't serve or benefit anybody in the situation, whether it's people who are discriminating or people who are being discriminated against. So I, you know, just took it in stride, but it didn't feel good. But it wasn't a personal thing to me. It was just in general that a person would do that didn't feel good. So
what I'm hearing is it wasn't completely targeted towards you. It didn't feel that way. That's not what you took away from it.
No, I did not take away from. Yeah, I didn't take that away. From that situation.
There's this empathy about you, and I think that you wouldn't need to go through that experience to be able to understand what the plight of black people. And obviously, I don't need to give you any examples, but you can do the math on some really specific examples of blatant racism, which again we're still seeing today. So. Talk about, because the word ally is floating around a lot, and I think that applies to you. Talk about the importance of being an ally right now to people of color.
The importance of it? Well, it's very important. It's very important. It's everybody needs support, and in this instance, people can no longer deny the discrimination against black folks. It's just, I mean, come on. There was slavery way, 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 way back in the day, and that's carried through apparently. It should have never happened, but it's a satanic agenda. It doesn't come from God. God created all of us, so it's an ugly, nasty thing. And as far as helping people, we all need an advocate.
Because I'm going to. I like that. I shouldn't have interrupted you, but I'm going to ask you at the end. I'm going to ask you at the end about some solutions. So keep that in mind when you respond. So go ahead. We all need an advocate. My apologies.
Yes, we do. No matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, we all need help. But as a group, I in no way abide or concur in any type of targeting against the human race. I'm against it. Anybody, but especially somebody because their skin color.
Or something they can't help.
It's like 6-year-olds behave better than that. They have more sense than grown folks who discriminate against other people because of the color of their skin, especially black folks.
Yeah.
I was raised with a lot of friends that happened to be black. But that as I mentioned earlier, my mother was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and so in the congregation there's no discrimination. I remember sitting around the kitchen table. My mother had a good friend. Her name was Esther, and she had 3 daughters, and so I spent a lot of time there with them. And Billy was the oldest, and she used to kind of babysit us. And I remember sitting at the table, and they had their the pressing comb on the stove, the heavy one that you don't plug in, just drop that sucker on.
Hot comb.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking, well, I want my hair pressed too, but that wasn't going to happen because
you got to peer into the black world though, right there.
Oh,
a lot of people can't say they've ever experienced or seen anything.
Oh,
like that.
yeah. I remember the grease and the smell of the heat on the hair and everything, and they're like family to me. I think, and I don't want to sound prejudicial myself, but my experience is white people have a tendency sometimes, if they're inclined to that, to be stuffy, and just sometimes not as warm and as familial as my experience with black folks. You know what I mean? They were, I don't know. I just have an affinity, but I love all races. I appreciate every single race. I love the dialects. I love the culture. Especially I find joy in it. There's a lady named Mama Mai, and she's Jeannie Mai's mother. And Jeannie Mai is on the reel.
The host.
Shout out to Lonnie Love. That's my girl.
Wow.
Love Lonnie
Mama
Love.
Mai.
Mama Mai. Yeah, that's Jeannie Mai's mom.
M-E-I.
M-A-I.
M-A-I.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. And, I get such a kick out of different ethnicities that when I hear Mama Mai speak, she has such a strong accent. It just brings a joy to my heart. And I can't comprehend even if
you have a passion for culture.
Oh, yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes, sir.
Why? There's a lot of people that have no interest in culture.
Well, they're cheating themselves.
Right.
They're not treating themselves.
Right. I talk often with guests about the importance of travel, getting out, getting off this continent, and really seeing other cultures.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So as I continue to steer this conversation different ways, because I love
Yes, sir.
you can pack an answer, and I love that. But I want to ask you this. When you say black and you refer to black, you use quotation marks. Why do you do that?
Because it's people are so much more. Like I don't feel when I say, black, it's like there's so much more to an individual than the color of their skin. And I don't believe that black fits. I just don't, but we've got to find a way to communicate. We all have words that we understand,
To define and describe people.
Yeah,
We often have that conversation.
Yeah, and black is it's a color. It's a color in a crayon box. Keep it real. You know what I mean? So is off-white, peach, it's all in there. But we're not crayons. We're not Crayola. We're more than that. And so I think that it's just a reference that has also been devalued. So when I say black, it's because of basically why we're here. Just putting people in a box. Oh, you got black skin, you got white skin.
And it's weird because we often talk about how it is there is this human nature affect or element to wanting to generalize people because there's comfort in it, and I don't know if it's there's so many layers to it. There's comfort, there's familiarity. It's easy, the black gay dude, or your friend Bob. Which Bob? The black one, the fat one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, descriptions. Yeah,
whatever it might be. So there a lot of it is just human nature. But I think I like to challenge people at times, and I always kind of razz my friends when I have the opportunity. It's like, the black one, the gay one. How about pulling the black or the gay? How about the one who works as a nurse? How about the one who works as... All right, let's move on to that. Folks, you can hear that. She's playing with its chimes. Why did you bring these?
Well, I brought it because I love the way it sounds. I believe it's a beautiful light vibration, but I brought it to kind of make a point. Maybe, even the sound of it sounds celestial.
Yeah,
maybe we
I
can
love that word.
We can get some higher thinking going on instead of our lower impulse thinking out of our belly button. Can we think out of the very top of our head, or at least the pineal gland?
But pineal gland, wow. So just the way you're speaking, you're more spiritual. This is a spiritual approach to what you're talking about with this, right?
Yes, and you're very observant. Yes, and for me that's what it boils down to, because if people who want to discriminate and hate instead of congratulate and participate.
Oh, get it? She's rapping now.
In a positive way. It's. I might as well people. If I were to be that way myself, I might as well be, living in the Arctic in an iceberg. No spiritual light, no spiritual understanding, no,
Yeah, what's the point?
No physical horizons, to broaden. It's just such a closed, it's like a one-way street when you want to go somewhere and then you want to come back. It's like buying a one-way ticket on a plane.
Why didn't you stick with the Jehovah's Witness?
What makes you think that I didn't?
Yeah, well, because the way you're speaking, the reason I say that is because of my own generalizations with people, and it seems like a lot of people are either religious or they're spiritual, right? They identify really with one or the other.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, I've never been baptized, but that is my. What do they say? Your choice of religion. You have a religious preference. Would definitely be Jehovah's Witnesses. And I do.
My friend was raised Jehovah's Witness, and she was disfellowshipped at 18, and she's 42 now, and she struggles still to this day with a lot of the ideologies behind Jehovah's Witness. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My mother was also disfellowshipped twice.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she went back. She
talk about a hardship. There's a lot. That's a lot of emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster to be a Jehovah's Witness and to be disfellowshipped.
Well, the thing about disfellowshipment, there is something in the Bible that says about keeping the congregation clean. I can understand that, but it's I think there's a misunderstanding with people who aren't real versed or don't have a lot of information about Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not necessarily what you do, although that counts. It's your demeanor and disposition after. There's people who do things and they're just not sorry and they're not going to stop. So it's not like, oh, if you do this, you're disfellowship, get out. It's more than that. The elders talk with you. It's a very personal thing. And it's not guided to dismiss. It's guided to keep a good, strong personal relationship with God, you know, and if you're not willing and you don't, you know, you're not willing to repent, or you're not sorry for it, or you just flat out want to keep doing what you're doing once you're baptized and you have given your life and your heart and you're dedicated to the Creator, you know, that's what happens. You just get disfellowship. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I do go to the congregation. Our meetings are on Zoom now.
Yeah.
So
Thanks COVID.
yeah. Well, I was going to say thanks Zoom.
Well, I'm sure you'd much rather be there in person. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, there's nothing like
the energy that's created within churches and groups.
Yeah,
right?
yes, sir. There's nothing like a human connection. I mean, we were created. I saw a paper one time, long time ago. It said that we were supposed to have 8 or 10 hugs a day, just for maintenance.
Right.
You know, so like if you're not
For your
getting your
soul.
hugs, you're like missing some spark plugs in your engine.
Sounds about right. Doesn't that feels right?
Yeah, it feels. I
Sounds
love
right.
hugs.
Yeah.
I love hugs.
Yeah, and that's what's
Yeah.
been tough for a lot of people during COVID is just being removed. Let me ask you this: what are your thoughts on the words white privilege? Talk about that. You're laughing. Why?
I think they should maybe white privilege preposterous.
Okay, go on.
Nobody should have a privilege above another because you're white.
Oh, really? For any reason, right?
Exactly. You know, well, they say driving is a privilege.
Okay, that's a good example.
So, you know,
Having children should be a privilege.
yes,
earned. Yeah.
that's a good point. Yes,
I hear where
yes,
you're going with
that is a mighty privilege from God to be able to have kids. I
Yeah.
can only imagine. I don't have kids, but
There's still time.
I did what you think so? I don't know. If
Hey.
I'm a big 5'1". I don't know.
Oh, Halle Berry did it at
honey.
like 49, I think.
Oh, did it? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a woman that had a baby at 71.
What?
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
I swear, Google
she
it.
Didn't.
Listen, I swear, Google it. I think she's Indian, but she's a fantastic picture. She's like in her 70s holding her baby.
You know what? I think now that you mentioned it, I think I might have saw something.
Yeah, and I should
about
Snopes that, but truth be told, you know, God works in mysterious ways. Why not? All right, white privilege. Go on to that, because those are inflammatory words for a lot of people, and so I do ask the guests here that are white, or Caucasian, whatever you would, what those words mean to them, and you do understand that you have white privilege.
You know what? That's a good question. I've thought about that recently, and I've never considered it. But if there's a way that I can dispel that by supposedly having that privilege, and I don't mean supposedly mean to negate what you're saying. But if I do have white privilege, then I would be sneaky with it to dispel it.
Right, you'd use it. You'd be like Robin Hood. So
Yes.
So
and
then
marry women.
So then, white privilege isn't something that you identify with right off of the bat. You can't.
No.
Got it.
No,
Well, because a lot of my friends have now, the journey that they're walking right now is understanding their white privilege, what it looks like, and they're learning a lot from the positive that can come from the dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about all lives matter? Go ahead.
What about can we get black privilege? We don't ever hear about black.
I don't know. Can we? That's what I'm working on right now.
Can we? If we get white, Asian, Hispanic, black privilege.
You know, it's
then
all
we'll
about perspective,
be-
right? So a
we'll
lot of
all be
people,
e-
would say yes, and a lot of people would tell me that I have privilege as a man of color. Maybe because I'm mixed race, so I'm not necessarily dark. Maybe because I appear educated and well spoken, or maybe because for whatever reasons, a lot of people have not a lot, but I've been told that I'm privileged. So it's all about perspective and what you identify with.
Well, I feel it's a privilege to be here.
All
it's
right.
not something that I necessarily earned or automatically have coming. I'm not entitled to it. Certainly not entitled to it. You know, I would. You know, yeah. It's amazing. I would like to learn more about the white privilege and stuff because I don't want to ever slip into that crack, that slippery slope, and accidentally be a part of that, and because of not having information about it that I partake in it.
Well, here's the deal. I often invite guests back, especially if they have some homework or challenges they want to work on. So I challenge you to kind of learn more about white privilege and how that you might identify with that.
Yeah, it would be an honor to do that. It would
And then
be
we
an
can talk
honor,
down the
yeah.
line. And again, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to open up the conversation as well. This is not all about you, but I want it to be. What about all lives matter? I asked you that a moment ago. What do those words mean to you?
You know what? To me, well, Black Lives Matter, number one. Okay, because
You get that. You get what
yes,
you get what we mean.
yes, I do. All lives matter. When somebody says that, is not to negate Black Lives Matter. That is to show, in a contrast, that there is discrimination, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't even be a topic that's brought up. It should automatically be all lives matter. But unfortunately, because of racism and because of discrimination, Black lives matter.
Your frustration is so obvious right now because it's so clear. You're frustrated with the fact that it's common sense. Why is it not common sense? I know you can't speak for other people,
Satan,
but where's
the
that
devil,
disconnect?
baby. It's Satan. You know, there's no gray area spiritually in my perception. I mean, we're all imperfect. We're born in sin for sure. So we're going to make mistakes. But like the Bible says, you cannot serve two masters. So you are either for the light and for the love of Yahweh's righteous heart.
Wow.
Or you are either riding the fence. You know, you can be this way with your white friends and this way.
And that's
with
the
your
majority
black
of
friends or
people.
Something, you know what I mean?
Right?
I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the majority or not. This I do not know.
I think Switzerland for a lot of people was a safe place. Not literally, but just playing the fence, as you're saying. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Staying under the radar. Because a lot of people's inherent prejudice and inherent racism is coming out now, which means that it was always there. They were just quiet about it.
Well, you know, I don't know if it was always there because hatred can be taught. You know, and there's a lot of frequencies flying around with the 5G and everything, you know, and that'll scramble a person's brains. I'm in no way defending somebody who's racist, prejudiced, bigot, you know, or sees white privilege as a privilege, you know. So it's a matter of heart, though. Thank goodness that only the Creator can judge our hearts, because everybody would be dead if it was left up to us, because somebody would be judging another person, whether it's for the behavior or the color of their skin or something. You know what I mean? And thank goodness that we can't really determine a person's heart. Although I've met many people of many nationalities, and I just, you know, I feel that goodness coming from them, and I'd say, oh, this person. You know, thank you, Lord, for this person in my life. They have a good heart. I know I can't read hearts, but they sure feel good, you know. So,
Do you have black friends? I know that's a very direct, pointed question.
oh yeah, I've had a lot of black friends. My cousin Philip has Victoria. She's black and Hispanic, and so yeah, she's, you know, I have somebody black in my family, you know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't like to say. It's not that I don't like to say it, but you know, there's African American. You know what I mean?
This is also a continued
it's
conversation for people.
Yeah.
I think that what I've learned, I always correct my white friends or friends generally, pardon me, and I let them know that black is what's comfortable to me. I believe that African American was kind of terms that were introduced to our culture in the late 80s, early 90s, along with the Affirmative Care Act.
Affirmative care.
I'm sorry, the Affirmative Action Act. My apologies.
Okay.
I'm
I'm not exactly sure what that is.
That was
sir.
when basically companies and business owners were really forced to make sure that they diversified their staff, right? Hire more black people. Affirmative Action, I believe, is what it was called. Sorry, it's been a long day.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
But and also like Ebonics, right? That's when we learned what Ebonics was, right? Which is basically just a black dialect, which is just kind of part of it's cultural.
Okay.
Black people did not coin that way of speaking Ebonics. That came from
You know,
the same people that
Ebonics-
coined African American.
Yeah, Ebonics does sound like something out of
insulting.
a science lab.
That's insulting.
Or
Yeah.
something,
It's insulting to me, again, because, you don't want to, this is something that's part of our culture. It's almost like calling Native Americans Indians. Like, excuse me, we're not Indian. India's over there. Like, stop telling us what we are, giving us these labels.
They're Aboriginal people that were here, and
They're not Indians. Indians are from India.
yes.
Okay, these are Native
totally
Americans.
Hello to my friends, holy cow, over there.
And
Totally love you.
what was America before it was titled America? What did Native Americans call it? That's actually an interesting
Probably
question.
a blessing and God's green earth, or
Well, some say Africa was Kush before it was Africa. There's some other
Kush?
Kush. Yeah,
That's funny.
The continent was named Kush.
That's a medical marijuana strain.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned Kush, because I saw driving on the freeway over here, there was a truck. I think it was a tile truck or something. It said Kush on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was called Kush. Wow, that's it. Thank you for letting me know that.
It's several names, as you can imagine, through thousands of years of existence, right? As far as mankind is concerned. But from my understanding, and again, I don't know everything, but Kush is one. There was another name as well. It was like
Kush.
7-letter, I think. But anyway. All right, so this is an opportunity where I want you to be able to add. What do you want to add to this conversation? When you were driving here, when you knew that you were kind of getting ready for today, what were some things that you thought about, you wanted to talk about that were important for you?
You know what? First of all, I prayed for the right words to represent what's in my heart to come out, because, words are funny. That's kind of what we're here for too. Is but there's an impact with words. So I just let my mind be free. I didn't think real hard about it, but I did not think about it because I was excited and a little bit nervous. Because I've never haven't been on a podcast until now.
Nice.
And it matters to me that that the listeners are touched. One thing I really wanted to do was maybe communicate something to somebody out there who, maybe their father was a KKK member or something very, very harsh like that, and to put a little seed of love in their mind, maybe change their mind, help them to see things differently rather than, just one way, broaden the scope of their heart and their mind to come into unison instead of being, brainwashed by white privilege, because it's a lie. White privilege is a lie. And anything that's discriminatory in any way that sets one person or one cultural ethnicity above another, that's a lie. It's a lie. It's not the truth. It's not based in love. It's not anything that's beneficial to mankind. It doesn't do any of us any good. It causes sorrow. It causes pain. It comes from hate. It rips families apart. And it stops people from being friends. So it rips apart, and then it stops from ever having a beginning, of being friends a lot of times. Because what? Because you're in the grocery store, you're white, and you see somebody who's black, and you're not even going to say hello. You never know, that person might give you a smile that you really needed to see that day. You just never know what gifts are going to come from whom and when. So yeah.
All right, I appreciate that.
I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you so
Good.
much, sir.
Of course.
For having me.
I love that you call me sir. I was just, hey, I'll take it.
All right, then I'll give it. Yes, sirree.
All right. So before we begin to wrap things up, this is becoming my favorite part of the show. I didn't expect it to be my favorite part. Mainly because I wasn't prepared for the innovative answers that people were giving as far as solutions are concerned. So there it is. You had your homework. Give the listeners and myself some real-time solutions that people can apply to their day, their life, where they can kind of explore their own underlining racism and bias, prejudice, etc.
Okay, like suggestions.
Yeah, something they can do.
Well, I can tell you what I've done. a lot of times I will let somebody, maybe go ahead of me in line.
Ah.
Regardless, it doesn't matter what color, you know what I mean? If you got 29 items and they got 2, just, be kind. Just say, hey, did you want to go ahead of me? Because they're going to be out of the way real quick. Why hold them up if you can just do a little nicety like that? Also, I found something for me that really expanded my heart, and it seems to have caught on. We all go into gas stations, we all go into grocery stores, and not all doors are electric. They don't open automatically at the pressure of the bottom of our feet. Hold the door open for somebody. If there's somebody coming out, hey, open the door, let them go on out, and if somebody's coming behind you, if it takes a couple extra seconds, just hold the door open for them, no matter who they are. And I believe it sounds like something small, but I think things like that, and also prayer is very, very important. But doing little niceties like that will make you, at a certain point, have a different heart sight, I believe. So, if some people are so ingrained about being a separatist, a separatist, as they say, you do something like that, and I think molecularly it affects your vibration. It's just like if you're really mad or upset, if you just keep smiling, whether you feel it or not, sooner or later,
it'll catch on.
Yes, you can trick your mind. You can trick your mind. Prayer is very important because, God created us, He has a direct link, and He can do things for our hearts that we can't even do ourselves, that our mind may not allow us to do. So people who were raised in a prejudiced or racial home, and they've got that in there, but really their heart isn't into it like that.
Yeah.
Just doing just little physical actions,
So what I'm gathering is stay prayed up and just nice gestures. Find those windows of opportunity and apply those nice gestures to your day and put a smile on someone's face.
Yeah, and remember, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes.
I like that. I'm going to make a note of that. All right, I appreciate you being here so much.
Oh, thank you, dear.
And we're going to keep in touch with Darla, and again, we're going to bring her back. We're going to give her some homework.
Oh, awesome.
You guys have your homework right there. As she mentioned, stay prayed up and continue, if you don't or if you do, to nice gestures. Be nice to people. Love on each other. We always tell you. Love on each other. We love you. That's a wrap for us. Do your part.
Oh, may I make one other? Appreciate yourself. Look in the mirror, look in your eyes, and keep focus on your eyes and see how long, maybe a minute. It's not as easy as it sounds, but love yourself. If you can love yourself, accept yourself, you can accept other people.
All right. That's a wrap for us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.